Hi, I'm Hannah and today we are doing a tour of my ugly sketchbook. If you are a creative yourself, you probably heard of that term already. I would rather like to call it the judgment-free space for experimentation because this is the sketchbook I kept alongside my actual sketchbook, which was this Strathmore mixed media sketchbook on which I uploaded a sketchbook tour pretty recently, so if you're interested I'm going to link it. And in this sketchbook I did more elaborate paintings or drawings for the most time because this sketchbook has pretty high quality thick paper and most of the time I was afraid to ruin it, and it made it even more intimidating to work in here, on top of the fact that I don't have the best sketchbook routine, struggle with art block, and so on and so forth. So I decided I keep a second sketchbook in order to have a place where the stakes aren't that high and at which I don't have to worry that I will ruin the whole thing or something. But I'm very happy to be able to say that as time progressed working in my sketchbook, I became more loosely, and now that I finished this sketchbook, I can say that I don't feel the need anymore to keep two separate sketchbooks, which really is a huge achievement for me, I have to say. So very glad that I finished this, and now I can start a brand new sketchbook and only that sketchbook. Yeah, so let's do it. I made this myself back in uni in a bookbinding course. It's pretty cool to know that I did all of this by myself and also filled this entire sketchbook, even if it took me some time. As I explained in the beginning, for the most part of the sketchbook I used it as a space for experimentation without any judgment, and I think this is the definition of a sketchbook. And now I'm able to use it like that without keeping a good sketchbook. Kind of interesting to look back on it because I think I kept this one for 2 or 3 years. On this page I try to do drafts for painting on an actual ceramics cup, and later on I decided on this pattern. And it's still one of my favorite mugs to this day, and I use it almost every day, so that's kind of cool. I like this illustration very, very much. I think I did it about 2 years ago and also turned it into a postcard, but at this point it's not available anymore in my shop. I don't have any more left of them. On these pages I try to experiment with oil pastels, especially in a time where I felt particularly art blocked. So I try to experiment as playful as possible with as many materials as possible, and I think I like them. They are very colorful, and I also like the palette. This is done in oil pastels as well. And this was an exercise to try to draw yourself as a character. And I think it was kind of hard, and I think it's very funny how different they look. This goes more in a realistic direction, and this is very, very cartoony almost, I would say. Stylizing motives or characters is actually not my sport. I'm not very trained with that. And I also remember how much I try to be as loosely as I can, but I struggled with that a lot, and sometimes I didn't even know what to draw. I felt very blocked, so yeah, I tried to draw the most random things in here. Oh, these were dinosaur sprinkles. I used on a lot of things back then, and I liked them a lot. This is a drawing I did in the park. I also have the habit to glue things in my sketchbook when I don't know where else to put them. You are going to see this quite often in here. This was an exercise from a Domestika illustration class, I think, And the suggestion was that you draw the groceries you bought that day in order to get into drawing no matter what you draw. On this page, I put sparkly stickers into the drinks, and I like this a lot. I think it looks very cute. This is an analog photo I took a couple of years ago, which I like a lot, and I printed it out but then decided to not put it up on the wall, so another thing I glued in here so that it can live somewhere. And then I had the idea to paint over it or draw over it with Posca pens. This is an idea I developed further in a few pages in a mini graphic novel, so to speak. And this is another analog photo I took. This is a couch I saw in an Art Deco exhibition I found very inspiring, and I love Tiffany glass ceiling lamps, and I painted those before I had any of those to remember the ones I liked, but actually now I have totally different ones which I like even better. I also got them secondhand. Here again the glitter stickers. And this is the mini graphic novel I was talking about. The idea I had initially can be found here again. And I like this one pretty much as well. What if we stopped fighting so much with ourselves? How do you think would you feel? Would it make you feel more like you? Would you feel lighter? Yes, and this page is proof to me that drawing and painting and everything has less to do with talent than with practice, because here I try to draw stylized cats from my imagination. Yeah, and you can see how that went, especially this one. I think this cat looks more human than like a cat. It's so funny. Here I tried to draw what I did that day, I think. I'm pretty sure this was another day I didn't have any idea what to draw. Oil pastels again. Ooh, and these two are the first drafts for paintings I did later on. This one is also available as a postcard in my shop. I will blend everything in on the screen. And this is a draft for a painting I did at first on a smaller scale, but then I painted it again on a huge canvas, which is actually behind this one. And I also have a whole entire video on the painting process for this one as well, but of course I will link it in the description box for you if you are interested. And these are from a figure drawing class which is called Drink and Draw here in Berlin, which I visited with my friend Fiona. I always think I have to practice more figure drawing because I could use more training when it comes to drawing faster, or also to focus on the most important parts, because I have the habit to directly start with details and working my way through drawings or paintings from one detail to another, which is kind of time consuming, which is not bad in itself, but sometimes it's very inefficient, so I should do that a lot more. And I think for these ones we had way more time, as you can see, because if we had 2 minutes or so, I wouldn't have been able to draw those like that. oil pastels as well. And I also like to protect some drawings which tend to transfer on other pages with transparent paper and draw over that again. Things like that can be pretty interesting. Here I try to use up leftover paint. And these drawings also led to another mini graphic novel, which you will see in a few pages. I love teddy bears, by the way. Oh, and this one is another draft for an acrylic painting I did on wood panel. And this motif is also available as a postcard in my shop, if you're interested. Yes, this is the other graphic novel. It's easy to be cold. Allow yourself to be soft and vulnerable. I don't know, I like things like this a lot, even if they are not my typical kind of work, but I like to find motifs that represent snippets of the text to support the meaning or to be a little metaphorical for things. And I have a graphic design background and specialize in typography. And I really like to set text in relation to images and give things another layer of meaning with that. If you're familiar with my work, you probably know that I also like to integrate small snippets of text into my paintings. Yes. Oh, I hope you can see that on camera. But on this page, I try to keep the first idea for one of my favorite paintings I did so far, which I called Stars Fell, and which is also a postcard by now. And this draft is also something I tried to memorize, and based on that, I later on developed another idea for an acrylic painting on canvas. I also discovered a new illustrative style for myself, which I specifically like to use in my sketchbooks. And here I glued more things that didn't have a home. And this is me as a child, dressed up as a clown, and I look pretty uncomfortable and not amused. So funny. Also another draft for a painting I did later on with acrylics on canvas. Another graphic novel, or a mini graphic novel. It's not a graphic novel, it's more of a comic, but I always don't know how to call them. By avoiding negative feelings, you slowly rob yourself of the capacity to really feel the positive things as well. Let's feel it all. And this is also a reminder I made for myself as well. Ooh, I also like this page a lot. On here I explored the new style I discovered for myself further. I think the dog is my favorite, and the matches. I also like that apple. More of those. More things that didn't have a home. This is a photo project that's the right way. This is a photo project I did in my first semester of uni. And these are from another sketchbook I never filled, but I like those, so I glued them in here as well. And here I used sparkly gold acrylic paint between the fingers. I don't like the drawing as much, but I like the idea. I think these are also from one of my first classes in uni. I think the course was called Color, Shape, Composition or something like that. Clear case of I really didn't have any idea what to draw or to paint, and I wanted to bring at least something on paper, so yes, that's that. Yeah, I tried to draw very loosely with pastel crayons. leftover paint. This is a list I wrote down on things I loved as a child, because sometimes these can still be things you can draw joy or inspiration or creativity from, but also things that you tend to forget about because of everyday life and all the other things you have to tend to. So yeah. These were my first draft sketches for my latest acrylic painting on canvas. I also have a whole entire video on the painting process, and also do have a postcard of this motif in my shop as well. This one looks kind of funny, but I like it. More draft sketches for this self-portrait painting I did in the process because I haven't been sure how I want to paint the background. I think around here or somewhere I finished my former actual sketchbook I used, and this is also when I began to draw more elaborate drawings in here as well, because I saved them for my sketchbook at this time. Yeah, and I'm very happy that I don't feel the need to do this anymore. So I don't have to keep two separate sketchbooks, which is pretty nice. This is Bella from Poor Things. I found her outfits very inspiring when I watched the movie in the cinema back then. This is a breathing exercise I saw in an Arte documentary, and the initial idea comes from an artist, but unfortunately I forgot the name. But it goes like, for every out breath you draw a line, and then you breathe in, take more paint, and when breathing out again you do another stroke. And I find it very relaxing. It was already relaxing watching it in the documentary. Maybe it will be helpful to you as well. This is a portrait I drew of my partner. And I also took analog photos from this motif because, yeah, I liked how it looked back then in the situation. Another draft around this painting because I haven't been sure how I want to have the background up here and if I want to have anything up there, so I tested it in my sketchbook first. This is acrylic paint. And that's it. Yeah, as I said, I'm very happy that I filled this up and that now I can start another sketchbook, and only one sketchbook, and don't have to think about ruining it or something like that. So I can, yeah, really use a sketchbook how it's supposed to be used. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for being here and for joining me for my second sketchbook tour. I really hope to see you in my next one as well. Like the video, subscribe, comment if you like. And if you want to support me in my art journey, striving to become at least a part-time artist, I have a small online shop for my art and handmade pieces at hannastollenwerk.com, but it's also linked everywhere. And if you're interested in watching a tour of my sketchbook with more elaborate paintings, such as portraits, I'm going to link that as well. And yeah, I wish you a very nice rest of your day, and goodbye.